Hello, good
Hello, good
morning.
morning.
Good morning, all of you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hello. Okay, we'll start in a minute.
Good morning, ma'am. Good everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Ma'am, we can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm so sorry. A very good morning to all of you again. And let's start with today's workshop. Those who miss it can view it on YouTube on our channel. So, the first thing what we'll be discussing today is a few worksheets which are story based, and then we'll look into the core concepts of CBT, the foundation of CBT, and we are going to wrap up the session with a few worksheets. So, this is what you can expect today. We'll be doing more of a hands-on because last 2 days was more of the theory part where you looked into what the concept of CBT talks about and what are the chief aspects of the cognitive behavioral therapy model. So now, as a icebreaker, I would like you all to look at this picture. Okay, you can see there's a strip, a comic strip. This is one of the most popular ways of incorporating CBT with children. We'll be more focusing on children and adolescents. These also can be modified and applied on adults. But for the time being, we'll just focus on children and adolescents because that's the age group who face the most, confusions with decision making and taking appropriate measures in order to control their emotions. Because for children, they're just growing up, they're learning their environment. And while they're learning their environment is wholly based on observation. So while they're observing, they don't know how to differentiate between the right from the wrong. And whatever they observe, they do it. That's the way they learn things in their environment. Till a point of time when they become young adults, that's the time when they start thinking on their own. Okay, that's a biological process. You cannot do much of it. So at this juncture, for children and adolescents, it's the best way to start off early to psycho educate them about all the emotions, about the bodily changes, and the like, in order to bring about certain constructive or more conscious decision making in their life. And that's the way they're going to change or modify their thoughts as well. Okay, so with that thought in mind, we'll be more focusing on the children aged between, say, 6 years till young adults till 18 years. We'll be focusing more on that age group. Okay, and very much these worksheets or these templates can be used on adults as well, with a little bit of modification and a little bit of modification on the storytelling part as well. So with that, I would like a few responses from you all. Like, look at the picture here, look at the comic strip here, and there's a storyline here. You can see the pictures related to it, and these two flies are talking to each other. We have got our best men working on it, but so far no results. So you can see there's a cheese which flies love. That's the food for them. And what kind of hinders them from getting the cheese is the glass case, okay, which they cannot pass through. So that's a problem situation for them. Now, what do you think is going on in this comic strip? What, according to you, do you think is going on in the comic strip? If someone would like to volunteer, anyone? I've given you an outline, but what, according to you, is going on in the comic strip? Anyone? Yes, Kosha?
Ma'am, so these two bees are thinking, how can we eat? How can we remove the glass?
Okay. All right. Any other response?
Ma'am, I think they are trying to get into something which is non-permeable. They can't get it because it's glass.
So it's a difficult situation, you feel. Yes,
Right.
Navita?
Ma'am, I think either the bees can be frustrated since it's not working according to them,
Mhm.
or they can think of a solution-based approach. So it's
Okay. Okay. They are frustrated or they'll think about it. Okay. Yes, Samina?
I think, ma'am, that they're trying to solve a problem, but they have the wrong solution to it.
Okay, great. Okay. So they have a wrong solution for the time being. All right.
Yeah, they're trying to tackle the problem, but the solution that they are suggesting is wrong.
All right. Okay. Yes. Many others have raised their hands, so you can also write down in the chat if possible. Yes, you can just unmute and talk.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Tell me.
Yes, ma'am. They want to desperately grab something, but
Mm-hmm.
the situations are becoming a hindrance to them, so they
Oh,
are not able to solve the situation.
mm-hmm. Deepika also writes they don't know how to deal with this difficult situation. They're confused. Fine, great. Okay, so a lot of responses from y'all, but all this while we were talking about the difficulty or the problem. So that is what we generally engage in. When we are in a trouble situation, we always ruminate or always think about the negatives or all the wrong things which are happening with us, rather than thinking about a solution to it. Okay. um, for the timing, when we are faced with a problem, when we are faced with one situation, we generally are triggered, or our fight and flight responses are physiologically triggered. So that's the time when our logical thought also stops. For adults, for children, it becomes even more difficult because their logical reasoning has not developed yet. So it is still in the making. But for adults, when it gets so difficult, think about the situations which maybe the children and the teenagers are going through. So it's like a very confusing world for them. Okay, the way they see the world is very different from adults. So it becomes even more, the difficulty level becomes even more, much more. Am I audible? Sorry, I got logged off.
Yes, right now.
Okay.
You were muted. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what happens with children physiologically. Okay, so we more focus on the problem situation. We have lack of resources. We have lack of cognitive thinking structures which can help us to solve the problem, and that's why we remain stuck in that problem forever. Like it's like a cycle; it goes on forever. So we'll try to figure out how we can change this entire thinking model or the structure of our cognition. Okay, so moving forward, this is a task for y'all to do. What would be the solution to the fly problem? Okay, what we saw in the comic strip, this problem. Okay, many of y'all have written that they are adapting to old processes, or they are stuck with some solution which is not working out. They're frustrated. All these are the things which you can see. Now it's time for you all to understand what can you come up with solutions to this problem. If you were the fly, what would you do in order to get what you want? What could be the solutions, various solutions, in fact? Okay, so this is your task which you need to write down. In CBT, we generally ask people to write down a lot because those thoughts becomes very structured and it becomes very real for them. Okay, what you have in your space, you just pull it down and write it down on the paper, which becomes physical, and that becomes a reality. So we always encourage people to write down. If you're facing problem writing down, maybe you can make some comic strips yourself. Maybe you can make stick figures which are problem solving. So it's up to you. You can make it art based, you can make it just a writing part as well. But this process is incorporated through storytelling. One, because it becomes very exciting for young children and even adults. I'm pretty sure when you were engaging, you were alerted. And the second thing is it becomes much more clearer. You know, when we are listening to stories and we are learning from stories, the learning becomes much more permanent. So I'll just give you maybe 2 minutes to write down. If you want to write down in the chat, you can go ahead. Okay, so you can write down in the chat as well. What can be the solution to this problem, to the fly problem which you have just seen? So pen down your responses quickly. We don't have much time. We have got a lot to cover today. Anyone who wants to speak about it can also speak while you're writing.
Hello.
Yes, Pavneet ma'am.
Yes, they are, I suppose, because they are helpless, so they might need time to wait for the things to get uncovered, to get them into,
So patiently
according to
waiting
me.
for
Patiently, yeah. Here it
patiently.
needs a patience because they are helpless and they cannot uncover the things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So,
So,
others also write observe, patience, wait for the moment. Maximum people are writing waiting for the correct moment for the lid to get uncovered. Okay. Or observe around what people are doing and then go with the flow. Okay. Who else wants to speak? You can unmute and speak because I'm doing it through my phone, so I can't see who's raising your hands.
Yeah, ma'am. So, seeing if there is some space left
Mm-hmm.
through which the bees can enter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Seeing if there is some little space left anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Fine. You'll be looking out for even more. You will be exploring further. Even if you feel that the entire thing is trapped under the glass thing, but still you'll be looking further for solutions. Okay. Fine. Yes, Samira, I guess your name is Samira. Samina, sorry. Your name got covered. Yes, Amina, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to say that maybe they would observe and see what other people are doing, or ask somebody for guidance.
Okay. Okay. So more or less, we are seeing that we are patiently waiting, either waiting or maybe we are uncovering. We are observing others, what they do, or taking help from others. And someone, Yogini writes, putting dirt on the glass so someone will pick it up and clean it. So, okay, another way of problem solving. All right. So we see a lot of strategies here, which is coming into use, and then what we do as humans instead of flies when we are faced with certain problems. Our first reaction is a trigger response. It's a fight and flight response. We are alerted. We stop thinking logically, and we just do whatever we have to at that point of time. After we calm down and we have brought our bodies to a homeostasis level, that's the time when we start problem solving. But in CBT, what happens in this therapy, we try to structure our thoughts and train our thoughts in such a way that we don't reach that trigger point and take certain wrong decisions. Okay, we'll see how it's looped, our behavior, our thoughts and emotions, how it's looped, and how we can pen down our thoughts and bring conclusions into our life for better decision making. Okay, so well done, all of you. We'll see how we can apply this knowledge. For people who have written different things, observed, wait, and all, you have certain strategies, problem solving strategies, which you generally use. If you look into yourself as well, when you are applying these strategies, this would be a good gateway to understand as to what your first approach is. Okay, someone who has written, I'll patiently wait till my problem resolve, till someone comes and helps me. Maybe generally you are doing it in your real life as well. So that's a food for thought which you need to reflect on. Now, for children and adolescents, they are constantly confronting their parents because there'll be an opinion of difference in opinion for them. So they are constantly confronting their parents, like we saw in the bees example, where they, these bang, 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 and all these which are written. It's like a hitting on the glass. The parents and the children or the adolescents are constantly confronting each other without a proper solution. Okay, so some of them may be living in fear because they are fretted by what the parents will say, what they will do. Maybe I'll get hit by my parents or being abused, verbally abused. Others may feel hurt about everything around them. They start pitting themselves and having catastrophic thinking where they feel that it's the end of the world and no one loves me. That kind of a feeling, which comes very often in adolescence as well. The concept of personal fable, that also comes with adolescence period, and it gets exaggerated if you have constant conflicts with your environment. um, it would be helpful at this juncture to know what bothers you and what you wish to change. So with a few worksheets, we'll try to incorporate this. So let's take an example here. The first thing what we do is mapping the problem. Okay, whatever problems we are facing in our everyday life, or whatever dominant problem which we have, we'll try to map it through a few conversations. Okay, and we are going to name that problem as the monster. Okay, so this strategy was discussed elaborately, but we'll do the short version of this and then proceed further. Okay, so making a map of the problem is crucial, and we'll be taking this example which is there, where a child feels that the problem is all about talking, the interaction part. When the child is interacting, he or she feels that she's not confident and she's going to blurt out something which will be really embarrassing. So we'll take the problem as talking. So for y'all also, whatever your problem area is, just try to name it, maybe in one or two words. Okay, so name the problem. That's the first step which we are doing. If we take the bees example, it would be naming the problem as
Hindrance.
yes, of course, hindrance or lack of resources. It can be that as well, or obstacles which are not under your control, but that's the real problem in front of you, which you don't have any control. Okay, so we are going to first name the problem. Quick, 30 seconds. Name the problem which you may be facing at this moment.
Incapable.
Okay, whatever your problem area you feel, you're going to write it down. I'll just give you 30 seconds to reflect and write down. You need not share it with the entire group because it might be very personal. So you can write it down. If someone wants to share, you're most welcome. Okay, so you're done with that. Now you can see that in this example, Mary, aged 14 years, she has a problem of shyness and she has named her problem as talking. And then we are going to name the monster, or why she's unable to, not why exactly, she's going to name the problem, give the name of the problem in context with a monster. Okay, so she has named it Squeaky. Squeaky, why? Because she's unable to speak when she's confronted with people or certain new situations. Someone writes, unable to employ to the correct position. I couldn't get what you have written. Can you explain once? Unable to employ at the correct position. I couldn't understand by that. What do you mean by that?
Because
Mhm.
this thing, ma'am, it should be because we have graduated in the particular degree, we
Mm-hmm.
should get that kind of a job only. But
Okay.
what happens is that sometimes we have to satisfy someone else. I'm not the self. We have
Mm-hmm.
trained to do particular things, but
Mm-hmm.
later we end up uh, satisfied with just that thing of being not okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, all right. So you're doing a particular degree and then you don't get the appropriate job which you want to, or the appropriate position which you are looking for. All right. So with that, keeping that in mind, name your problem. It is a monster which we are looking into. For children, it becomes much more exciting because you are not naming the real problem, you are naming it on someone else. In play therapy, we generally have these puppets or toys which talk to each other, maybe about a problem which the child is facing. But here, what happens is the child feels less threatened. Okay, the child feels less threatened and thinks that it's the problem which others are facing. Okay, so it becomes much more less threatening for the child to confront and come up with solutions. It becomes much more easier on that context. So the next step would be naming the problem with context to a monster. So she has named it Squeaky. Right? I hope you are done. Can we have the names of your monsters, please? That would be fun to know. Whatever you have named your problem to be as a monster, we are making it into a character now. Anyone who wants to write down? Bhutnath, okay. All right. Self doubt, okay. Try to make it a little bit more exciting. These are the problems which you're writing about, but name it. Give it a name, like she has given Bhutnath or Manjulika, or a confused monster will also do something similar. Rather than only writing about the problem, try to modify it into a character. Okay, conjuring ghosts. Okay, fine. Let's proceed then. COVID. Okay. All
Clever
right.
wolf. Clever
Clever.
wolf.
Okay,
Wolf.
clever wolf. Okay. Okay, so we'll all take these monsters and see what we can do with it. Okay. Now, these are the three sections which you need to maybe incorporate. What we do in our school is we have these boards, soft boards. We pin up blank spaces one after the other. Now, the first part becomes smaller, and then the middle section and the third section is larger. Because when we are starting off with a problem, when we are facing a problem, our problems or the monster is very strong. Okay, it's a huge one where we can't fight. We are easily triggered by it, and we remain stuck with the monster for a long period of time. So what we do is we have three situations here. The first one is I win. Okay, uh, I win in the sense, if we take this example, This girl, Mary, has a problem in talking. So this squeaky monster, it only comes up during the right hand situations. The first situation which we are looking into, just 1 second, I'll try to annotate. This situation is when Mary is winning. Okay, this girl is winning. So when is she winning? She's not finding it difficult, or the monster is not appearing when when I'm talking to my friends or my brother or my maybe family members. Okay, so for you also, what are the winning situations where you don't face that problem? What are the winning situations? If we take sir's example, what he was talking about, that what we study, we don't get the right kind of a job. What are the ways or the avenues where you feel very fulfilled? Okay, when the monster doesn't arrive, when that thought doesn't arrive, that things are not working out. Okay, try to figure out and write down.
Can I
It can
speak,
be
ma'am?
only one.
Actually, I'm doing something else.
Yes, yes. Tell me.
When I want to plan my life, my investments,
Okay.
so
Okay.
something stops me. It gives
Mhm.
some of the
Okay.
other thing happen that it becomes a negative situation for me. I
All
cannot
right.
procure the things which I want to.
Uh-huh. No, we are only talking about winning situations. It's a win
Winning
situation for me.
win situation is investments, then
Uh,
jobs, then
all right.
study, everything. Yeah,
So,
everything which is positive for me.
so all of you will write down in this block what are the winning situations. It can be only one situation where you feel very safe and secure, where the monster is not around. Okay. So it can be any one also. It's not necessary that you have to have a long list when you're starting off. So just a winning situation where you feel very secure. Samina writes, when my critics are not around. Very well. Okay, when your critics, which you have already identified, when they are not around, you feel very safe. All right. Now, moving on, we come to the moderate level where the monster, you feel the monster is coming to you. It's still not appeared in front of you, but it's somewhere nearby, or it's approaching you, or maybe just doing a peekaboo. So, when we are explaining it to kids, we make it into a story that you are safe uh, when the monster is not around, and you're feeling very happy, but then suddenly the monster comes, or maybe peeks from one of the windows, or peeks through the door, and you have heard the footsteps of the monster. When are those situations when you are facing this? So for this girl, it's like when I'm talking to my mom, dad, that means she's very conscious about her parents, the parental presence, or the principal or the teachers, maybe one on one, but then again she's a little scared, or she's not feeling right at that point of time. She's starting to have that anxiety. So for us also, when is it that sometimes the monster may be arriving or approaching us, we feel a little nervous at that point of time. So when are those times? So you can write it down, maybe at that time when you're feeling a little jittery about things, when the problem seems to arrive maybe in lesser quantity. Any responses, if you want to share it all? So it's like a middle way when I'm not winning, neither losing, but somewhere in between, where I'm a little anxious, or not feeling right about myself, but I can still manage the situation. And once you've done with that, okay, Yogini writes, stepping into a new situation or thinking about changing something big. Okay, that's the time when you start feeling a little uncomfortable, and then Speaky is the monster here. So for this girl, when does the monster take over or wins? When I'm talking to strangers, when I'm at the center of attention, when I'm meeting new friends, when I'm talking in public, when I have to step on the stage, there can be n number of things which can bring out the monster full blown. So if a child is having such anxieties of public speaking or social interactions, that's the time when she starts having or seeing the monster all around. The monster is that talking problem. Okay. Okay. Nivedita writes, when I'm unable to finish an assignment and another new task comes up at the same time. So that is the sometimes. Now we go on to the full blown where the monster has appeared in front of you. Okay, so we're going to write down those situations as well, and I'm pretty sure it will be a long list. May not be for all of you, but it can be a long list of things. Okay, so once we are done with this mapping, it becomes easier for us to focus on things, otherwise it's just a scattered thought. And we keep on worrying that I cannot speak. Even sometimes becomes a full-blown monster attack where we feel that we cannot speak and we cannot go away with the day, go about the day properly. And we have that general sense of anxiety if we talk about this case. So this is the template which we are going to share. You can use this or you can make your own. It's totally up to you. Okay, so these are the first things which you need to do. First is name the problem. Name the problem with a monster's name, and then write down these 3 situations where I'm winning, where the monster doesn't appear, sometimes where you feel that the monster is just around the corner, and when the problem wins, that means the monster wins when it's totally taken over you and you're trying to run away from things. Okay, so this is the template which we are going to share. Now our aim would be, if you see, if we compare these two, our aim would be the winning situations where we are not finding the monster, where the monster doesn't attack us. It becomes longer. The situations become, the list becomes longer. Our aim is that. Sometimes become shorter, and the monster, when it wins, it becomes the least. Okay, so we are going to modify the boxes through these strategies. So we're going to try to find out what all things can we do in order to problem solve and then not let the monster win. So you can see this is the first situation and this is the second situation which we want to be. Okay, this is a situation which we don't want to be. All right, so we'll try to focus on this where we are taking over the monster. Maybe the monster will not go away completely, but we are going to take over the monster and not get scared. You can see the child is just standing there without being scared or running away. Okay, so our aim would be this section. So we have 2 worksheets. This is worksheet 1, which we are starting off the session with. Okay, when you're starting off CBT sessions, this is the general thing which we do. And the second one is we'll have a plan of work as to how to reach this position where the entire box becomes shorter. Okay, maybe 1 situation or 2 situations at the most, and this becomes longer than the first one. Okay, so this would be our goal. So when you're explaining it, you also explain it to the children as well as to what you can expect from the sessions and what we can do in order to problem solve. All right, any questions? Anything you would like to know? Okay, then I proceed further. So this is the entire model of CBT. We'll just look at this comic strip again with an example. But before that, let's just understand what are the...
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I just wanted to ask that how we will help the person to go through the bigger problems to the lesser problems, and the thing which we like, how we will take the person to the more an I win situation from the
Yeah, that's
problem
what we'll be
position.
explaining. That's what we'll be discussing now. Okay.
Okay, okay.
We'll be discussing a few things which you can start. See, CBT is a very elaborate process, and there are like hundreds of worksheets which you can incorporate. But we are just starting off with the basics where you can just start off and have a plan of work, because in counseling sessions, we generally plan out the sessions or what the problem is. If you are unable to identify the problem, we'll not be able to plan our sessions properly. Okay, so CBT is more solution focused and it's much more concrete and directive as well. So we are trying to incorporate this with children also to easily problem solve and not only vent out or use catharsis method in order to temporarily get a relief. Okay, that's the long term procedure. These strategies are short term, and we'll learn how to do basic things, and then you can keep on modifying and understanding and learning more techniques. So moving
Okay,
on
ma'am.
with this, yeah, moving on with this, we have the factors which relate to each other and how it affects our behavior. So we have our thoughts first. Thoughts, behavior, the environment, the body, and the emotions. Everything you will see, it's like machine, which if one rounds up, the other will also be circulating. It's like a movement. The entire movement will affect you. So it's not only that you can detach your thoughts from your behavior. Maybe you think something and you do something else. It never happens that way. Whatever our thought processes are, we try to behave that way as well. Okay. And also our emotions will determine as to what all we are engaging in. So if we can kind of modify one of these, the others will also synchronize with that. Okay, so this is the entire machinery of our system, of our entire body as well as mind structure. In CBT, we have the thoughts, emotions, and behavior, which I think almost in the entire 2 days you have already understood and discussed about it. And the ABC model, which we already know, is the activating agent, which triggers the incident. The B is the belief or the thought, and C is the consequence. That's called the ABC model. Now, going with that, let's check out this comic strip. Now, what do you think is happening here? This girl is playing. You can see something happens there. Can someone tell me what is happening there? It's already written, but if you can, anyone would like to volunteer as to what is happening here in the comic strip? Anything? Yes, Diana, please go ahead.
The girl is kicking the ball.
Okay, the girl is kicking the ball, and then what happens? O3, you want to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So the girl, I guess, mistakenly kicks the ball and breaks the lamp. Now she's scared.
She's scared. What all emotions can you see? The third comic strip which we have.
She is scared, though she also wants to solve it because she fears the consequence.
Okay, okay. Pulverize means the mom is going to, kind of be really very angry and even maybe hit her. So
Right.
punish her and all. So she can be grounded. So that's the consequence which she's thinking. And then what happens in the last two strips? Anyone else would like to say? The last two? The lampshade breaks and she's scared. Yes. She's stiff scared and she's worrying as to what the mother will do or say. And then what does she say? Wait, we could still get out of this feeling. Where's a pencil? Okay, and then we see the last strip as to it was me, and then it's written sorry. Trying to fix the problem. Absolutely. So this girl till here, if I mark it till here, it's like a fight and flight response till now. Okay, she is triggered by the incident. She's worried about the consequences and she is freaking out, absolutely freaking out. I don't know what to do and this and that, and she's thinking, oh my god, what's going to happen now? That's the thought process. This is the negative belief or the thought process which is going on till here. So it's like a negative thought process till here. But then she modified her thought cloud, that wait, I can problem solve at this point. And then what she did was the behavior and the consequence would be much more better than what she was expecting at this point of time. So when she modified the thought into this, that wait, I can problem solve, and she wrote a sorry note that it was done by mistake and I did it. She owned up for her fault. Expected that the mother might be angry, but not to that extent that she's going to punish her, because she herself owned up. And what do you think can she be feeling at this point of time? What do you think she will be feeling at that point after writing the sorry note? The monster will still be there. She'll be worried, but do you think it will be totally a blown up situation where she can't control herself and she freaks out all the more and she starts crying?
I
What
think
do you
she'll be
think?
more hopeful that her
She'll
mother
be
will
more
accept.
hopeful. Yes, accepted, hopeful, very good. And anything else? What do you think? The physiologically, what will she be doing?
Ma'am, here I haven't got this thing. Like she's blaming the teddy, or she's
No, no, no. She's written
taking it
a
as herself.
she's
She's
written
writing
a
on
note.
she's a note. Okay, okay, okay.
She's kept
That
it
means she's
beside the
hopeful.
teddy.
She is hopeful. Yes, that she might be get. She
Ex-
might not get be punished.
Right. Expecting a better situation, being hopeful, and then what happens physiologically, the fight and flight response set will reduce, and she'll be much more lesser in stress than what she was at this juncture. At this juncture. Okay, so what happens is the moment we change our thought processes, the behavior also changes, and we can expect a better consequence, if not the best possible consequence. Okay, so this is the comic strip which you can also explain it to children. You can use this story, you can use any other story, maybe a moral story, and explain how our thoughts, if we change our thoughts, how it changes our consequences. Well, okay, you can do it through puppets also with children. For adolescents, you can have other comic strips which are more catering to their age group. Maybe you can use Archie's comic strip because they can relate more to it. Okay, Archie's has a lot of stories which are based on problem solving. If you can just get maybe old copies of Archie's and flip through the pages, you'll see a lot of stories has a lot of value added to it, so you can cut those out and keep it and use those in future as well. So now what we do is we will kind of see CBT also has a lot to do with psychoeducation of emotions and all. Okay, so you need to psychoeducate the person about maybe if we talk about anxiety or depression, we psychoeducate them, tell them what it is all about, and also with that we have a psychoeducation of emotions, because if you are unable to label the emotions, you'll not be able to proceed further or gauge as to how your emotions are shifting. Okay, so we have the mood tracker which we have already done, you can go and check it out. We also have the Platchik's emotion wheel which you can check it out, it's already there. Otherwise you can have a list of emotions which you can list it and then tell the person as to what they are feeling. So emotions has to be labeled whenever you're starting off with the sessions or the problem. For y'all, if the monster is that way, if the problem is that way, how do you feel about it? Okay, when you are confronted in those situations, so you can go back and label yourself as to what you are feeling. When I win, how do I feel? When sometimes the monster arrives, how do I feel? And when the monster wins, how do I feel? Okay, you will see the emotions are different for different situations. So labeling of emotions will come with psychoeducation of emotions. You can use the basic Plutchik wheel or you can make your own list and then hand it over. There are lots of templates over the internet which you can use with children. Okay, those smileys and other drawings are there where you can use it with children. For teenagers, you can use just words. Okay, so we are done with the emotion part. What emotions do you usually feel when you're facing these three situations? So you can relate and write it down. Next is the behavior. Like what all behaviors do we generally engage? If we take this example, maybe the child doesn't go out of the home or doesn't call up anyone or is scared about every situation, doesn't take up any responsibility as well. So it can be the behaviors which are being triggered by it. Okay, so about the monster, when the monster arrives, how do you behave when you have that problem going on still in your head? So it can be stay. These are the examples which are given: staying in bed, yelling at others, running away or avoiding the problems, or staying home from parties. Okay, maybe for this situation, it's staying home from any other social interaction. For you all, it can be totally different. If we take Sir's example, Sir, would you like to talk a few parts to it? Sabina, you want to talk? Your hand is risen. Anyone else who would like to talk, like how do you behave generally when you are into that situation? Yes, Indra. Please go ahead, Indra. Yes, Paki.
I'm trying to hide myself from people around me.
So avoidance strategies. Okay, someone writes something in the chat. Let me check. Become quiet for a long period of time. So that is also a way of avoidance and seclusion. Okay. Any other responses? We often get angry and irritated. You'll see that young children, they retaliate a lot. Okay, and even adolescents, they'll get into a lot of conflict. Shut myself. For adults, it's more of an avoidance because we are done with all shouting and yelling. We generally distance ourselves. For younger children and adolescents, you'll see they more retaliate. They'll become angry. They'll not do anything. They'll become stubborn. So those are the behavioral outputs which you can expect. Okay. So these are the behavioral outcomes. We see that we have explored the emotions. We are now trying to explore the behavioral part. Next would be this is very important because when we have certain triggering situations or some stress, our physical body also gets affected, which in turns also lead to a lot of psychological effects. So when you are talking about bodily changes, do a body scan. The body scan was also recorded in a few other sessions. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. That also will lead to a lot of insight as to how your body responds to the stressful situation or the monster. Okay, maybe sometimes you'll feel you're shaking, you'll feel nauseatic, or maybe you'll feel you'll get sleepless nights. All these sweating, trembling, muscle tensions, all this will lead to a lot of stiffening of your body. Okay, so that energy becomes trapped in our muscles. That's the way stress works on us. Okay, headaches, of course. So body scanning is very important with children, with adolescents, even with adults. Okay, so understanding which portion of your body feels stressed out, what are the physiological symptoms of stress, or what are the physiological symptoms of that monster appearing in front of you. Okay, if you can control that, you will see that half of your problem goes away. Okay, half of it goes away. If we talk about this example, the stage fright or the social interaction this thing problem, you will see there is a lot of trembling of the voice. That's why the child has named it as that the monster's name, the squeaky, because she's unable to speak out, and there's a lack of energy, and she trembles, maybe shakes. So through body scanning, a lot of relaxation exercises, physical exercises, meditation, if you can control these physiological symptoms, you'll see a lot of it goes away. The fear goes away. If we take proper care of our bodies. So
And
identifying
grounding techniques also help at these times, right?
grounding, of course, grounding techniques, meditation, with whichever problem which you're facing. Stress basically is trapped in our bodies. So if we incorporate these strategies, whether it's grounding, meditation, mindfulness, or progressive muscle relaxation, all these needs to be incorporated in your daily routine in order to get rid of that monster, because that's the time when you can stay very firm and very focused. All these will develop your focus with time. Okay, this is not a very short term thing. Maybe a few things are short term, like grounding exercises and quick breathing techniques and progressive relaxation, but otherwise meditation, mindfulness will have a long term effect on you.
Ma'am, grounding technique as in?
There are lots of grounding techniques where you count backwards, where you name objects, name colors, to take your mind off from that triggering thought, which we saw that what we think, if we can change that, we also, shift our behavior or our consequence and how we are feeling about it. Okay. So we are going back to that first template where we do a body scanning, where we do our behavioral checklist and our emotional checklist. with this particular template. So in this template only, you're going to focus on what you feel, what you actually, how you behave, and what are your bodily symptoms, which happens at that point of time. Okay. So after you note down this, it becomes much more clear. It's called mapping of your entire problem and your body, your entire emotional mapping. After you do this, you get trigger points as to what I need to rectify or how can I make myself feel better. Okay. So this is a very first step which we are incorporating. Now, these are the two worksheets which you can use with children. One is for boys and the other one is for girls. Can you name the emotions which is there? This is one of the worksheets which we generally do in the initial sessions when we start off. What is the first emotion if we say? What emotion is each person feeling?
Happiness.
Happy.
First one, all of you feel it's happy. Okay, the next one.
Disinterested.
Okay, disinterested, bored, confused. All right. The next one.
Angry.
Angry. Okay. The fourth one.
Scared.
Scared.
Scared, nervous. And the last one.
Yeah.
Sad.
Okay, so we all know what our emotions, how we look when we are facing these emotions. So for children, also when it's pictorial, you can have a lot more emotions. You can get those smiley cutouts and also make these templates and keep it in range as to what all emotions they might be facing at that moment, and that can help you with emotional regulation as well. And the next part, the thinking processes, what is each person thinking, that can also have a lot of insight as to how the child is feeling at that point of time. So when is it that the child is feeling happy, so they can write it down. When is it that they are disinterested, they can write down the situation. When is it when they are having they are facing anger, or maybe they are nervous, or um, excitement also negatively. Then when is it when they are feeling sad? So these situation scanning can also help you as to when they are wholly triggered and when the monster comes out. Okay, so you can ask them then which are these situations where the monster appears in front of you. This is an alternative, okay, for younger children. So we'll wrap up with this entire thing. Any questions till now? These are a few worksheets which can come in use when you are starting off your sessions. And we can do only one over here. Say, for example, anger. We face anger all the time. So even as adults, if we say that this third one is facing anger, so what is the person thinking? Can you write it for yourself?
Ma'am,
Say,
a
for example,
situation.
hmm,
Hello.
yes.
A situation where a child wants to open up, but nobody is listening or wanted to talk to him, or
Okay.
either they are stopped talking to him.
Okay. Okay. So for you, it might be that the child is facing anger, and the situation
Because
is
of
that
it.
no one, yes, no one pays attention to him.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this becomes clear that that's the way, that's the time when the monster is appearing, when no one is talking. So you can ask the child further as to what you can do rather than feeling angry all the time. What can be the solution to it, or how can you change the thinking pattern that no one is talking to me? What can you do about it? What can be the solution to it? What can be the solution to it? Can someone come up with a solution? You may motivate the child, give them options if they are stuck. Give them options, and maybe you can, approach someone whom you feel you are comfortable with, or maybe you can. Those are the strips which we make. The problem-solving strips which we have. Maybe write down the solutions, probable solutions, maybe 10 solutions, and then the child opens up each strip and sees which one fits the best, and then the child can go and apply it in their real life situations. Okay, so this is more of a structured method where we are also using directive techniques as to help the child, but also keeping an open choice for them to pick up and then execute the same. Okay, so once they write down that Maybe if I can look for someone else who can listen to me, identify someone who can hear me out, that will help me, get rid of that anger monster. So feel much more better after that. So we are looking into the emotion part, we are looking into the thoughts part, we are looking into the behavior part, and how we are modifying it, and then ultimately how we are feeling about it. So it can be a series of things which you can put in. The last part to it, the entire session, which we'll be wrapping up. Um, this is a worksheet which you can use. You can have your own, templates as well. If we take this example, there's a girl. She just lost her tooth, okay, and then she's very scared as to what's happening, and she's feeling nervous and jittery about it, and she's saying that I'm falling to pieces, because that's a very new thing which children go through. This is a very basic example. It can be any other example which you may come across. So if we see that what's happening to the child, okay, why is there a very weird name? Because children generally remember, or we as adults also remember weird names. Okay, so try to incorporate in your stories very unusual names which the child might feel interested. Okay, so what's happening to this child? What is her thought? What might be she feeling? What can be the emotion which she is expressing? And what is her behavior? And what physical sensation does she have? So this is the entire first part to your CBT session, the foundation or the basics of CBT session, where we are having this entire worksheet through a story. You can have a different story altogether as well, and then write down these 5 questions. What's happening here? What is the thought which the person is going through? What emotion does she feel? What is her behavior? And what all physical sensations is she going through? So this is the entire crux of your all whatever we discussed throughout. Yes, you'll get these worksheets. Okay. So after we have that emotion mapping and the entire problem mapping, you'll see that it becomes very clear what the child or the person is feeling as well. Okay. Yeah, Indrila writes, my thought would be why my tooth has fallen. Okay, am I going to lose all my teeth? Yes, that's a scary thing for the child. And then it can be that she's feeling nervous or extremely scared or fearful. Her behavior would be crying, howling, shouting, screaming. Then physical sensations would be shivering, because young children, it's very important how they feel, their bodies feel. And if they can control that, they'll be able to control most of their emotions. So the next worksheet will help them psychoeducate themselves. Okay. So here is a few examples which are given. The situation is my brother won't let me use the computer. Okay. The thought is he always does the same thing. I hate him. That's the thought process which the child is having. And that leads to the emotional output, which is anger. Okay. That's the thought which he has. Now you have to fill up the behavior. What do you think can be the behavior here? What can be the behavior at this juncture? There are a number of situations here. So what can be the behavior here?
Throwing tantrums.
Throwing tantrums, fighting, pushing, shouting. All these can be the behavioral consequence. And the physical reaction is tense muscles and hot face and clenching of fists. And there can be a lot of other things as well. Okay, so this worksheet will help children identify where they are going wrong. Okay, next one is I failed maths. The thought process is I'm a disaster. What can be the emotion here? Can you fill it up?
Fear.
Fear, hopelessness, all these can be emotions. Sadness, yes. Even anger sometimes, that why am I not being able to do it? Okay, there can be more than one emotion as well. Behavior is at recess, I'm left by myself. I don't want to talk to anyone, I'm avoiding everyone. And physical reaction can be fatigue, low energy. Okay, maybe the eyes start paining due to crying, nervousness, all the shivering and all can happen. Okay, so this is the second one. The third one, I heard strange sounds at night. Thought would be, can it be a thief? For younger children, can it be a ghost? The emotion is feeling scared. Behavior is I hide under the sheets because I'm scared. And what can be the physical reactions? What can be the physical reaction at this point? Come on, fill it up.
Heart beating fast and shivering.
Yes,
Tense
heartbeat
muscle
fast.
like that.
Yes, quivering, shivering, losing the voice, feeling so scared, losing the voice. Okay, next one. Next situation is my parents scold me. The thought would be what?
Nobody loved me.
Nobody loves me. Yes, very good. An emotion would be either I feel sad or I feel angry. Okay, it can be that. Behavior would be I hit a door, or it can be any other behavioral output. Physical reaction would be heart beating and all. These are filled for them, but these the thought processes are very important. So likely all these are listed here. These are the situations which are listed. You can make your own situation as per the understanding from this worksheet. Okay, this worksheet will lead to maybe few situations which you can write down here, and then ask the children to fill the rest of the portion. Maybe you can have a few filled, or you can have them totally blank. When you're starting off the sessions, it is better to have this fill in the blanks kind of a template. But otherwise, when they are a little accustomed with things, they can make their own. You can have them completely blank with one or two spaces filled up for them, because that's the way they are going to train themselves how to think and what they can modify on. So, taking this example, say the thought. Here, if we take the first example, my brother won't, or let's take this one. My parents scold me. The thought you said that I am not loved by my parents, I hate them. And that's why the child is angry. Now, you can ask the child, what can you do over here? What can you do over here in order to make this expression a happy one? Okay, so you can put a smiley face here or a happy face here, and then ask the child to write down a solution here as to what can make the situation different from whatever he or she is experiencing. And when they change this particular area, you'll see that these areas are also changing. Okay, or you can ask them, how can you control this part in order to make yourself feel better or calmer, if not happy? How can we avoid this part? So it will lead to a lot of conversations, a lot of problem solving in your sessions, rather than only talking. Okay, because this will give you a correct direction as to how you're proceeding with the same. There'll be a lot of brainstorming as well, but when you are starting off with CBT sessions, train the children in order to fill up these parts, and it will be engaging and exciting for them as well, rather than only talking about what they are feeling and what they can do, because that will be more of a lecture based method. So if you incorporate this, they'll find it interesting, and then at a subconscious level also they start applying it whenever they're facing the real situation, because that's the learning which they're going to take from the entire session, and then they are going to apply it elsewhere. So this is the template which you will get: situation, thought, emotion, behavior, physical reaction. But please incorporate this particular worksheet. This is very important. These two worksheets, particularly this one, will come in use. If you can make it as a game-based thing. So any questions? If anyone has any questions. Anything?
Yes,
You can
ma'am.
unmute and talk. Yes, please. Tell me.
Anita here, ma'am. You are telling that we just ask the child to change the thought. But if he is in that mind state that my parents don't love me, nobody care about me, so what will ask? Okay, what the other thought you can replace? Or what should I
See,
ask?
this one can be like, it's not a replacement. As I told you, you can give them options as well. If a child, say for example, he or she is stuck, and the child refuses to change the statement, what you can do is have strips of paper as a problem solving technique, which you can do it in the next session, maybe not in that session itself, because you need to do that homework. So you write down a few solutions on strips of paper. That becomes more directive in a way. and hand it over to them and ask them to pick and choose one. Okay, you might have difficult children, you might have difficult cases to handle, but that if you do this worksheet, I'm pretty sure they will open up their minds. They
Okay.
are ready to, since this is game based, they become
Mm-hmm.
much more interested. It's not that you are just lecturing them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, many
Because
a times.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes patients and clients are that in that state, they are not able to control their thoughts or belief. They just tell के no, यही ठीक है जो मुझे लग रहा है
Huh.
वही सही है. That is the thing.
Right. Especially children, they become very rigid with their thoughts because that's what they have learned from their environment. For adults also, you'll find very difficult clients, but then you can give them options, or you can do more storytelling and ask them to fill up, not with cartoons, maybe with much more proper. You need to develop those templates over time. Okay, you can have question based things also, but if you make it pictorial and grid based, it becomes easier and much more interesting to work on. I would suggest, once you get this, make your own templates, make your own set of problems, whatever you are having. Do it yourself. Unless you do it yourself, you'll not be able to understand the impact it has on others. So first thing, before starting off with any session, CBT session, do it yourself. No matter what, how little the problem is, but do it and see if you can modify these. Okay, that will help you to gain insight also as to how I can modify my sessions as per the individual who's coming to me. Okay, so this was it, and we'll be sending you all the worksheets very soon. With your certificates, you'll get all the templates and worksheets, and if we can incorporate a few more where you can proceed with the same, we'll give you that as well. Any other questions?
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me, ma'am.
Sometimes children are called by their negative names due to their physical appearances. So how could we help them overcome this stress or angriness in them?
See, how could you do it? First of all, you need to start off with the CBT thing if you are really, wanting to help the child understand that it's not only their physical characteristics which define them. They will have to realize themselves. It's about more about empowering the children. You can use puppets instead of these worksheets. You can
Okay.
have a conversation between the puppets. You can use maybe stick figures of drawings where they are conversing. Storytelling can become a very good medium as to overcome this. Stories with morals. You have to look up those stories and try to understand how the story may impact the child. Okay, and then there are different strategies, play based strategies, which you can incorporate to empower them. Rather than just lecturing that it doesn't matter how you look, they will never understand. So let them get certain inputs from the environment where they are involving themselves in the process. Okay, use metaphors, use these storytelling techniques, use puppets in order to enact the situation, how they are feeling, what they are thinking, and what is the behavioral outcome, and how is it helping them. Okay, and how they can modify their thoughts in order to feel a little better. And I always suggest that motivate them to quantify their emotions. Maybe they are saying that I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling sad. How anxious or how much sad, you can scale it up, maybe on a 10-point scale or a 5-point scale, 10 being the most anxious, 0 being the least anxious. They can scale themselves up, and then you say that if the child has marked themselves as a 4, what all things can you do in order to jump to 5? Not maybe a full 10 or an 8, but how can you jump to 5? And when they reach that 5 point, how can you reach to 6 and start feeling even more better? So that's the easiest way to understand emotions, and if whatever the progress is. Okay, in anger control, we have the anger thermometer. You can do that. That's also an art based CBT technique. You can use that very well. All right. So those who are interested, we are coming up with an advanced CBT certification. Dates will be announced soon. And if you wish to do it, get in touch with our team. So any other questions, anything before we end the session? I hope it was of use to you all. We'll be sending you the templates soon. We'll be sending a few more templates as well for your use. And the advanced counseling will also have a lot of hands-on this thing, your templates and all. See, CBT is a very vast area. It is applied in almost all psychological disorders. But you can also always try out with minor stress situations as well. It helps very quickly. And again, my suggestion is please do it yourself before starting off with your clients. Okay, have a nice day. In fact, a nice weekend. And thank you so much, all of you, for joining in. The recordings will be available on YouTube. You can rewatch it if you want to. Yes, Kosha, you want to ask something?
Yeah. So, ma'am, when a client is experiencing any such symptoms of anxiety or nervousness, like shivering and stuff, so, ma'am, in such cases, what would be the on-the-spot, way of reducing that?
You want solutions to the physiological symptom control.
Yes. Yes.
Since O3 was also talking about grounding techniques, you can use that method. Grounding is the first aid which we generally use. Okay, people might find it very weird, understanding what grounding is. But what grounding does is shifts your thought from a negative thought to a neutral thought process. For thoughts, what we have here is basically what happens here is, a thought can just replace one another. It is never layered. Okay, it doesn't sit on top of each other. One thought will occur at your in your mind only once, and when some other thought comes in, it replaces it. Okay, so it cannot be overlapping. So that's the characteristics of thoughts. So when we are triggered by some situation, we have this automatic negative response or automatic negative thoughts going on in our mind. So what grounding does is cuts off that communication and replaces it with something which is instant, which is then and there, so that the negative thought cannot take place at that point of time. So it's like a shifting. And the moment you're having that negative thought, if you engage in that grounding technique or whatever grounding techniques you are doing, that kind of cuts you off from your negative thought. And that helps you in physiologically balancing yourself. That is the science behind grounding. Okay, so it's basically to physiologically restore yourself so that you start thinking logically again. Mindfulness also does the same thing. It creates a then and there solution for your problems.
I think it's the same for taking deep breaths as well.
Yes. Physiological control. That's for physiological. Always remember why we talk about physiological control is to bring back homeostasis to yourself.
Right.
Your body needs a balance. We are always in balance if you're fully functioning. But what happens in stress situations is it gets triggered into fight and flight responses. We have hormonal disturbances, which kind of disrupts our higher order thinking skills. Right. Our frontal lobe gets affected, our digestion gets affected, our muscles gets a lot of energy which is not required. We are not running away or we are not running somewhere. So that physical energy is not required. And when we have too much of physical energy trapped in our muscles, that's the time when we start feeling anxious and nervous and angry, and we feel like throwing things, we feel like shouting, we feel like crying. Okay, so in order to restore back the balance, we incorporate grounding techniques, we incorporate mindfulness, we incorporate deep breathing, and the like.
That's also probably the reason we can't go to sleep, since we carry so much energy in our body.
Yes.
Those times.
It's same like you become hyperactive. You've seen restless children; they cannot sit at one place. Okay, if we have too much of energy within our body, it's not possible for us to fall asleep or think logically. think properly and then come to a solution. And that's why we are kind of trapped in that worry loop all the time. So it's grounding techniques are basically a trajectory. It shifts you, it flings you out of that circle. And it has to be a constant thing, because once you do it, it might not work. Again, you have to do it. It's more like a continuous process. So we keep on psychoeducating people that once it's not working, that means you give up. That's not the thing. You need to make your body understand, your mind or brain understand that you need to do this more often. So it becomes trained. Okay. Thank you so much all again for joining in. And we hope to come up with more sessions. Maybe the next session would be on parenting, because many of you all were requesting that as to what the parenting styles are and how you can start parenting counseling as well. So we'll shortly come up with that session for you all. Diana and Oindrila, you have questions? I'll quickly take it.
Ma'am, are we going to get these PDFs or the videos? Because I was not there for the first session since I was attending your class. You know,
Okay.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
so the first session I could. And what about the parenting, ma'am? Are we going to, like, you can just have a proper course for us, just how you arrange the advanced child counseling, the same way, like, to become a parenting coach. So if you can arrange that way, so it will
Okay.
help
We
us for our
think
career. Yeah.
we'll be coming up with maybe the school counseling certification, where we'll be only talking about school counseling, and that will also have parenting counseling as well. So maybe that will be a part of it.
Okay, ma'am.
So
Okay.
we'll keep
Thank
you notified about that. Thank
Okay.
you. Oindrila, you have a question? I guess no. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a nice day. There are